The skies of Virellia Prime burned like molten gold as the war came to its bitter end. Human warships withdrew one by one, their engines streaking across the black as evacuation alarms howled through the shattered cities below. The planet, once jewel of the Virelian Empire, now lay in ruins, rivers of glass and ash stretching to the horizon. Among the chaos, one man remained. Captain Aaron Hale, last surviving member of the 39th Terran Expeditionary Guard, stood amidst the rubble of the Virelian citadel. His armor scarred, his pulse rifle out of charge. Around him silence reigned, except for the faint hum of life support keeping one being alive. She lay on a stone dais in the heart of the throne room. Queen Virellia of Virellia, ruler of a once mighty alien empire that had fought humanity for decades. Her iridescent skin shimmered weakly beneath cracked crystalline armor. A faint blue glow pulsed from her chest. The biocore that sustained her life was failing. Aaron knelt beside her, pressing a med-gel patch against a wound that no human hand was meant to touch. Her breathing hitched. "You should have gone," she rasped, her voice melodic even through pain. "Your people are leaving." Aaron smiled bitterly. "They told me to. But I don't leave anyone behind. Not even an enemy." Her eyes flickered open, twin shards of silver. "Foolish human," she whispered, though her tone held no malice. "You risk your life for a lost cause." "Maybe," Aaron said, adjusting her oxygen regulator. "But sometimes the right thing is the lost cause." When the final order came from orbit, "All Terran forces evacuate immediately. The Virelian system is condemned." Aaron cut the comm line. He knew what it meant. In less than 12 hours, the Terran fleet would glass the planet to ensure no Virelian survivors remained. He looked at the Queen, half dead, surrounded by the wreckage of her throne. She wasn't the monster propaganda had painted her to be. In the last few days he'd learned enough, through her half-conscious murmurs and the fragments of her empire's data core, to see the truth. The war had been built on lies. The Virelians hadn't wanted conquest. They'd wanted survival. A plague had swept their world decades ago, sterilizing their species. Their attacks on human colonies were a desperate attempt to seize genetic data, a way to rebuild their dying population. Humanity had misunderstood, retaliated, and turned survival into genocide. Aaron clenched his fists. "We started this war by mistake. And now we're finishing it by erasing them. Middle, the Queen and the human." The next hours were a blur of motion. Aaron scavenged power cells from wrecked drones, sealed off breaches in the citadel, and jury-rigged a makeshift life support generator using parts from his ship's escape pod. When Queen Virellia woke again, her voice was stronger. "You stayed," she murmured, watching him with curiosity. "Why?" He hesitated. "Because I couldn't watch another species die while we pretend it's mercy." She laughed softly, a sound like wind through chimes. "You humans always think yourselves gods and saviors." "Maybe," Aaron said, sitting beside her. "But I'd rather try to save one person than explain to myself why I didn't." She turned her head, studying him. "Your kind fears us. Yet you sit here, in the ruins of my world, speaking as if we are equals." Aaron met her gaze. "Maybe we are." A silence lingered between them, not uncomfortable, but heavy with unspoken truths. Over the following days, as orbital bombardment scorched the skies far away, Aaron worked tirelessly. He stabilized her biocore with an improvised nanite stabilizer. He hunted for food, the edible kind that wouldn't poison a human. In return she spoke, not like a queen, but like a woman stripped of her crown. She told him of the singing oceans, where her people once walked on light. Of how her father had died trying to make peace with humanity. Of how her empire fell when the stars stopped singing. Aaron listened, sometimes laughing, sometimes just sitting quietly beside her. The war outside the citadel became distant. A different universe altogether. One night, beneath the ghostly shimmer of the ruined palace, she asked, "Do you hate your own kind for what they did?" Aaron stared at the distant horizon where fire met sky. "No, I don't hate them. I just wish we were better than this." Her silver eyes softened. "You are different, Aaron Hale." He smiled faintly. "You sound surprised." "I am," she admitted. "In all the cycles I have lived, no human has ever spoken my name without hatred." Aaron looked at her, really looked at her. Her once magnificent crown was broken, her hair tangled with ash. Yet in that moment, she seemed more alive than anyone he had ever known. And that realization terrified him. Choice. By the 6th day, the Terran fleet returned. Orbit-wide comms blared through static. Final bombardment begins in 2 hours. All remaining units, identify and prepare for extraction. Aaron ignored it. He was kneeling by the Queen's bedside, finishing the calibration on a stolen cryopod he had pulled from a crashed dropship. "You can survive in this," he said, tightening the seals. "I'll send the distress beacon once the fleet's gone. Someone will find you." Virellia frowned. "And you?" "I'll stay. The pod's too small for both of us." She shook her head weakly. "No. You will go." Aaron laughed softly. "You really think I'd leave now?" Her voice rose, the regal tone of a ruler returning. "You must. My world is dead, but yours still lives. Do not waste your life on ashes." He took her hand gently. "I made my choice the moment I stayed." For the first time her composure broke. "Why human? Why this madness?" Aaron's voice cracked. "Because I couldn't save your people. But maybe I can save you." A tear traced down her cheek, a drop of liquid light. "You would die for me," she whispered. He smiled faintly. "I already did the day I stayed." The bombardment. The sky split open with thunder. Fire rained down. The earth trembled. Aaron activated the cryopod. Blue light enveloped the Queen, her body growing still as stasis took hold. "Sleep," he whispered. "I'll make sure they don't find you." He dragged the pod into the catacombs beneath the citadel, once the burial halls of the Virelian line. There, among the bones of kings and queens, he hid her. Outside, the bombardment began in full. Whole cities evaporated. Mountains became dust. Aaron returned to the surface, rifle in hand, not to fight, but to distract. He transmitted false life signs across multiple coordinates, drawing Terran targeting systems away from the crypt. His comms buzzed again. "Captain Hale, you are in violation of evacuation orders. Report your position immediately." He laughed through the static. "Tell command they can go to hell." The voice on the other end grew cold. "Then you die with them." "Yeah," Aaron said softly, watching the sky ignite. "That's the idea. Ending legacy of a fool." Days later, when the firestorms faded and the Terran fleet declared Virellia cleansed, a single distress beacon pulsed weakly beneath the planet's crust. Took decades before anyone found it. A salvage crew from the outer colonies unearthed a sealed crypt, untouched by time. Inside was a single human skeleton, seated beside a dormant cryopod. His armor bore the faded insignia of the Terran Guard, and his name tag still read A. Hale. The pod was still active. Inside lay Queen Virellia, preserved perfectly, her silver eyes closed as if dreaming. When she awoke centuries later aboard a hospital ship orbiting a human world, she found a plaque placed beside her pod. He stayed when no one else would. For honor. For compassion. For peace. Memorial of Captain Aaron Hale, defender of Virellia. Tears fell freely down her cheeks as she traced the engraved words. For the first time in her life, she understood the strange, self-destructive beauty of humanity, the madness that drove them to love even their enemies, to stay when reason demanded they flee. And as the stars outside shimmered like the oceans she once ruled, she whispered into the silence. They called you a fool, Aaron Hale, but you were the bravest soul I ever knew. Epilogue. Years later, the human Virelian peace accords were signed. Her revival sparked unity between species once at war. On the day of the signing, beneath the vast glass dome of the Galactic Senate, Queen Virellia laid a single Terran medal on the table, Aaron's, before addressing the crowd. He was one of you, yet he saw in us something worth saving. Let his memory remind us that compassion is not weakness. It is the strength that binds stars together. Applause filled the chamber. And somewhere beyond the edge of known space, the ghost of a soldier smiled, content that his choice, foolish as it seemed, had saved more than one life. Had saved them all.